Yeah, by the way, Gemma, which are the new trends you foresee in API governance? Because we are talking about building ecosystems on top of APIs, and this involves adding complexity in your environment. If it's very complex to govern your APIs inside your organization, imagine outside the organization. Which tips can you give our audience in this context?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So I think the first area that I'm seeing a lot of evolution, particularly in the large enterprises that we work with, is around it's the evolution of what do we mean by flexible or configurable governance, and how do we implement that in our organizations. So I think traditionally it's kind of been thought of as flexibility or responsiveness means that you can embrace new standards and rules as they come in. But when you're an enterprise, say, working with thousands and thousands of APIs of different types and different categories, protocols running on different environments, governance is not going to be a one-size-fits-all. And so I think both of us actually saw and participated in a discussion on LinkedIn on should we be treating all APIs as products. I think you and I both agree that they should. And so to be able to do that, you need to be able to apply different rule sets to different types of APIs. So your internal one-off API may need a very low level of governance, but kind of just some basic security. But your external business capability API is obviously going to need to be the cream of the crop. Understandable and well documented and surrounded by metadata and consistent, reusable, all of those kind of aspects. So it's how do we ensure that that's doable? And I think looking for particularly tooling that can help with kind of configurable automated governance is really going to help there. The second trend that I'm seeing that's really interesting is governance as a tool. As we've kind of mentioned before, your APIs are only most valuable if they're being adopted. So how do we use governance to help drive that? And I think it's a bit of a buzzword already, but the concept of API curation is really interesting from a governance aspect, and I think as well helps the wider audience of API governance and all the roles that are involved in it kind of understand the benefits. So if we're starting to use governance as more of a how do we possibly eventually shift from building APIs faster to reusing APIs so that we can reduce redundancy and the costs associated with that, and kind of eliminate some of our security inefficiencies, all of those kind of great things that we've been promised about APIs as a whole. It would be really interesting to see how we kind of enable that curation and that level of reuse first as the first port of call from the governance aspect. And then the final trend that I'm seeing, and it's possibly seems a bit daunting for some enterprises and some organizations, but I think it's an exciting eventuality that we can get to with all kind of the right approaches, and as you mentioned before, the people, the process and the technology to help us transform into kind of a modern digital enterprise, is how governance can help scale an API program. So obviously at the base level, governance is all about making good APIs, but if you're using governance and your governance model to help you understand your coverage, what do you have, what do you not have, what is good, who owns it, if it's not good, why is it not good, how does it need to be made good, that's kind of the first level. And then you can take that to expand what governance actually means. So if we're using governance to start tracking, say, some maturity metrics, like what's our log coverage, what's our test coverage, how of the APIs we've been able to identify to migrate from SOAP to REST, what % have we done, and how effectively and safely have we done that? And then it even comes down to kind of the runtimes and the way that we're managing how our APIs are running. Are any of our APIs a bit too chatty and a bit too expensive, and so does it make sense to refactor them into something else? And I think that's a really exciting opportunity, because then you've got the one level of using governance to help you kind of gain data and be able to make data-driven rationalization and actions on your portfolio, but also you've also used governance to ensure that your portfolio is consistent and reusable and build and these fantastic building blocks that in theory anyone can use. I think that's very exciting for increasing innovation and kind of delivering all the API economy benefits that we're hoping for.
Absolutely. Now that one last question. Now that we are living in the AA area,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think AA will impact in API governance, or are you foreseeing self-governance APIs?
That's a fantastic question. I think you always need the human touch for anything. I think that's something that we're finding, I think, when it comes to integrating AI into all of our workflows currently, there is a level of you just need the human touch. And I don't think AI is quite at the level where it can do everything for us. I think it could potentially be helpful for kind of making that governance process more frictionless and quicker and easier. But yeah, I think you're always going to need a human. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that AA it's another tool, but it's a powerful one because it allows you to make a lot of calculations with a huge amount of data much more quicker than a human can do. So this allows you to process data and get insights and conclusion quicker, but humans are not replaceable, at least at short term. I won't make prediction at medium long term because I don't know. But I think that we are very far. Very far is 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
very far now from AA replacing humans. I think that AA is a good tool for solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
So AA allows you to decompose complex problems into more simpler ones.
Mm-hmm.
But someone, a human, has to decide or to define how the solution to the problem is going to be approached.
Absolutely.
So we are quite far now for replacing humans and that task.
Exactly.
So, but it's true that AA will have an impact across practically all sectors of activity.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah. Agreed. And to leave our audience today with a quick fire round, David, what 3 words would you use to describe governance?
3 words. Coherence, user-centric, and alignment between business and IT. I think that 3 words are key. Yeah.
They're brilliant. I like them. And I'll do the same to myself. I think my 3 words are probably challenging for obvious reasons. This is a bit of a cheat one because it's opportunity. And it's the opportunity that governance brings. And to be positive, I want to finish on a positive note, I think it's doable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also think it does. In fact, I'm investing a lot of time in my workplace to do that. I think that a better happy world is possible using a well-defined governance,
Absolutely.
API governance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was to conclude that I think that API governance is a powerful tool to reduce the friction when you are trying to deploy an API strategy in any organization.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree with you. I think governance is a tool to make things easier.
Yeah,
and
we are fully aligned.
Make things easier and make your APIs more valuable.
Yeah, happy to hear that. Definitely.
Well, David, thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to chatting to you soon about more kind of topics in the API space.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you very much for continuing me for this.
Brilliant.